Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing our preview and predictions for the final of the League's Cup. So let's get ready with the video. Inter Miami will play at the Seattle Sounders at Lumen Field, and this is still going to be a huge game, although both teams are already qualified for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but the winner gets a first round bye, so there's still plenty at stakes for both teams other than a trophy to take home. So it's very important this final so you can get a first round bye. And today we'll be talking over my preview and predictions for the final. So let's get ready with the video. But before we continue, I'd like to tell you guys to like and subscribe because it is very important that you guys like and subscribe so you guys can never miss another video. And to also not forget to follow me on X and on TikTok. There will be a lot more content on those pages. First, let's do my quick preview and predictions for the third place game between the LA Galaxy and Orlando City. Both sides come off tough losses and have no more trophy to play for, but there's still a spot at the CONCACAF Champions Cup to play for, so this game is still very important to both sides. Let's start off first with the LA Galaxy. They lost to the Seattle Sounders at home 2-0, and Orlando City, they lost away at Inter Miami 3-1. So tough losses on both sides. Orlando City will be playing without their starting left back, while the LA Galaxy have been pretty shit all year and they looked pretty bad against the Seattle Sounders. So I think this is going to be a pretty tough game to predict. The LA Galaxy are at home, but they've been pretty shit as I've said all year. And Orlando City, before that Inter Miami game, they had to travel all the way back from California to Florida, and now for this game they have to travel all the way back to California. So it's a lot of travel in a very short amount of time for Orlando City. I predict this will be a very close game, and I do see Orlando City taking this third place game 1-0. I do think the LA Galaxy's poor form is going to catch up with them during this game, and it's very unfortunate because this has been a pretty shitty season for the LA Galaxy. Shame that Ricky Puig at least couldn't come back for the League's Cup so they can have a better chance of qualifying for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but tough luck for the LA Galaxy. Now let's go with my preview for the final. We'll be doing a preview of both sides, starting off with Inter Miami. Inter Miami going into this final for many people are the favorites, and it's pretty easy to say why. On paper, they have a lot more firepower when compared to the Seattle Sounders, and a lot more star power. Of course, you got Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Rodrigo de Paul, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba. You also have other options like Segovia on the team. So they have a lot more firepower and, of course, a lot more star power on Inter Miami side when compared to the Seattle Sounders. One thing to know about Inter Miami this season in MLS CONCACAF Champions Cup is that they've been a lot worse in the road while compared at home. At home, they looked unbeatable throughout the season. I know they have some tough losses at home, like that loss to the Vancouver Whitecaps and that loss to Orlando City earlier in the season. But at home, they look nearly unbeatable in Major League Soccer. While you compare it to in the road they looked shit. Like they have a lot of more notable losses in the road when you compare it to at home, and in the road they looked notably worse if you've been seeing Inter Miami's games throughout the season. So that's one thing to note, and of course, a lot of travel. You're traveling from the most southeastern end of the country, and you're traveling all the way to the most northwestern end of the United States. So it's a lot of travel for this Air Miami side. And of course, that might take a toll on the players. So that is one thing to note about Air Miami. But outside of that, on paper, they have the better players, of course. So there anything could happen. I know maybe these players can probably rise up to the occasion for this game and might pull off with a tough victory. Who knows? Now let's go with the Seattle Sounders. The Seattle Sounders for this game are the underdogs for many, many fans. But one thing they have is Lumen Field, and they'll have a pretty huge home advantage for this game. Inter Miami, as I said, will have to travel a long distance. They'll be having to travel from the most southeastern end of the country to the most northwestern end of the United States. So it's a lot of distance to travel. And one thing to note about Lumen Field is that it is a fortress for the Seattle Sounders in big games. As we've seen in the past, the Seattle Sounders have won finals at Lumen Field. The most notable one being that CONCACAF Champions League win over Pumas back in 2022, and they've also won the MLS Cup 2019 against Toronto FC of Jovinko, Michael Bradley, and Jose Altidore, one of the best sides in MLS history. So those are the two most notable finals against two good teams, and obviously Toronto FC being one of the best MLS sides in MLS history. So with Messi coming into town, God betcha they'll be packing out Lumen Field. At that game against Pumas, they broke an attendance record for CONCACAF Champions League attendance. So for this game, expect them to break some sort of attendance for League's Cup, because with Messi coming into town and Lumen Field just being huge and the Seattle Sounders having a lot of good fans, well, God betcha they'll be packing out Lumen Field. So it's a final not as easy to predict as many people think. Inter Miami, of course, has a huge advantage while it comes to quality on the field, as the Seattle Sounders won't be counting without Albert Rusnak for this final, and Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, and Rodrigo De Paul are on Inter Miami's side. So while it comes to quality, Inter Miami has an obvious advantage while it comes to star power, but when it comes to home field advantage, Lumen Field is a huge advantage when it comes to the Seattle Sounders, outside of just Inter Miami having to travel from one end of the country to the other. And Lumen Field it's just a different environment, as many players have noted throughout the past. So this is not as easy as many people think to predict this final. And I think, with all this being said, I do think Inter Miami will win this final 2-1. I think a moment from Lionel Messi near the end of the game will be enough for Inter Miami to pull through. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.